Version 3 software for the Roland Aerophone Pro is introducing some great new features. I'm really excited about these. Now, you may have already heard the news, and you might have even seen my own demo that I did for Roland. I'll link that in the description below. But I thought for you guys, you'd like a bit of a deeper dive to see just what's going on. And it'll kind of work a little bit like a tutorial where I can show you how I set up some of those sounds the way I did that demo for Roland. Let's get into it. You may already know the headline features. We've got new import and export options via a USB memory stick. By the way, that also includes now sample import. We'll get into that in a moment. We've got now intelligent harmony. We can now tune scales very precisely within each note of the scale. And then we've got something like 25, 30 new or improved sounds on board as well. So let me just take you through some interesting little features here of each one. This might be a good time to just say, please, if you're finding this information interesting and you appreciate the time I've taken to make this video for you, please give me a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. I really appreciate it, and it helps the channel to grow and help more people. To begin with then, we look at the import and export options using a USB memory stick. Up to now, we have been able to share sounds. It's been a little bit clunky to do that using the app, but now things are much easier. So let me show you how it works. I've got my USB stick and I'm connecting it into the USB socket on the side of the Aerophone. And then what we can do is we turn the Aerophone on whilst pressing down the menu key. So press and hold the menu key, turn the Aerophone on. It takes a little moment to boot up here, of course, and it will show you that you're now in the version 3 software. You'll recognize some of these headings here from what we had before, but now if I scroll along, what I have is export scene bank, import scene bank, and import tone. So there's some nice options there. Let's say I wanted to import a tone that I've already got on my memory stick. I just press menu and say, yes, I want to import a tone. Now, this is where I've also got stored sounds that I've previously downloaded from the Roland cloud, which are highly recommended, by the way, if you get a chance to check those out. But as I scroll along, now what I get to is some of my own sounds, and I can just press menu and import those to whatever memory position I want to. So that's really nice and straightforward. Of course, the same goes for export. I can just choose to export a sound, and then I can take my memory stick and share that with anybody, or send it by an email, or maybe share it with some kind of group online or something. So that's a really nice, handy feature to have. While we're looking at that feature, what is this thing about sample import? What are samples and how would we want to use them? Well, sampling, of course, has been around for several decades now. Essentially, if you don't already know, sampling is about recording a sound, any sound, and if you like, replaying it by triggering it by, say, pressing a key on a keyboard, or in our case, playing the sound on the Aerophone. Up until now, we've not been able to include actual samples in the sounds that we use on the Aerophone. But in the demonstration that I did for you here, I recorded a sound from my Logic DAW. I then had to import it into a Phantom keyboard. Once I'd done some settings in that, I could export it from the Phantom keyboard onto the memory stick and play it on the Aerophone. Okay, look, I know. It's great, but it's a pain. At the moment, the only way we can do this is if we have a Phantom keyboard, or if you know somebody that's got a Phantom keyboard. Now, please understand, I am really trying to press Roland to give us some kind of application that will make things much easier to do. I see this as a step in the right direction because there are some great uses for this, but at the moment it's going to be very limited for the people that can actually use it. What I'm hoping is that some people in the community that do have those Phantom keyboards, hopefully they'll start to share some of the sounds so that you can have a little go. It works really well. You can include, changing volume in that. So the harder you blow, the louder the note will go, just like any other sound. You can transpose that sound and play with it at will. So that's great. Now, I'm just going to stop you in your tracks there because I can hear your brain ticking and saying, wow, I can sample any sound. Well, yes, you could. For instance, you could record your own voice and play it back. You could record someone singing something and play it back on the Aerophone. But don't go thinking just yet that you could record your favourite Selmer Super Action 80 saxophone and play it live on the Aerophone. Well, you could, but sampling actually goes much, much deeper than that. There's all sorts of very clever things that go into sampling sounds. You can have a go at it. I don't think it's going to sound great. It certainly won't be a very usable sound. As I say, this is a step in the right direction. Hopefully one day we'll get a really good representation of a saxophone sound on an Aerophone, built into the Aerophone. We're heading in that direction, so let's just accept that we've got a good step forward at the moment. The other use for this, the thing I was excited to try was, well, if we can record any sound, could that be a drum loop, or could it even be a small backing track that we could load into the Aerophone? Well, yes, it can. So in this demonstration, what I did here was I had recorded my own little 16-bar loop into Logic Audio. Again, I exported that, imported it into the Phantom keyboard, transferred it onto the memory stick, loaded it onto the Aerophone, and what I did was I actually made that loop be a drone sound. So as I start this sound off, I press the thumb button that I'm using as my drone trigger, if you like, and then as I play the sound, I play the sound for a second, let go of the thumb, and then I can jam over the top with a different sound. Of course, it's another good use for the Boss foot switch, which I introduced you to a few weeks ago, because that can be your drone trigger if you would like to. So I think that's a lot of fun, being able to have a small backing track or some kind of acoustic backing going on, maybe a sampled sound, I don't know, the sound of the sea, whatever you wanted to do. Quite nice to have that running there and be able to use that as part of your sound library. Another use might be if you're playing in a theatre band. Normally a keyboard player will be asked to play sound effects. Well, yeah, you can step in and do it now too. So it's a great new feature. Next up, intelligent harmony. I think probably this is the thing I was most pleased to see. As you'll be aware, we've had harmony controls on all the Aerophones actually since the AE10, but we haven't really had a great set of controls for it. We can only ever play parallel moving chords. So if you set a third, a major third, every note you play would have a major third on top of it. That's pretty limited. So what we have now is what Roland call intelligent harmony. Let me show you on the iPad app. This is the La Seine sound. I'm going to do my best here to show you clearly what's going on. La Seine, by the way, is one of those new sounds that's been included in the update. It's actually originated on the AE10, and it was one of my favourite sounds there. I think it sounds great. You can hear it in the demo. So let me show you where this scale settings are. By the way, you can do these on the Aerophone itself. It's just, you know, that Aerophone menu is pretty clunky, isn't it? How many of those linear settings have we got to go through to get to the one that we want? There's like hundreds of them. The app is probably easier. So what I'm doing here is clicking on the bottom on the editor button, and then I'm going to common. And here's where you can see what we had before, which is this page. It selects things like the scene volume and whether the scene is transposed, etc. But as I go further down, I get to the harmony switch. This turns the harmony effect on or off. But here's the interesting bit. Instead of just having normal, which is what we used to have before, we now have the option to have intelligent harmony. What does that mean? Intelligent harmony means you can specify a certain key, let's say C major. Well, in C major, if I want to play in thirds, then, okay, my first interval should be C to E. That's a major third, right? But then if I want to step up a note, well, then I want to go D to F, and D to F is now not a major third, that's a minor third. And before, all we would have got is D to F sharp. We would have got another major third. That was very limiting, but now we have this wonderful system of staying within a key. So what I can do when I scroll down a little bit further, I can select here whether I want to play in a major or a minor key. I can select my root note of the key. I'm just going to stick this in C major to keep things nice and simple. And then what we've got is 4 slots here where we can choose the interval that we want to play. So I've got this set to a 6th here, but let's say we do that thing where we do a third above, and I'm going to close that off. Now if I take the Aerophone, I'm going to play a C, and it will play me C and E together. I'll play a D, now it plays me D and F natural, E and G natural, and so on. And, you know, if I wanted to take that further and let's say we select here, say a 5th above as well. Okay, and what about a 7th? That would sound nice. Now I get a C major 7th. Now I get a D minor 7th. E minor 7th. F major 7th. And of course, G dominant 7th. So it really adds a huge amount of possibilities there. I really love this. Now, let me tell you something else which I think is very interesting. You know, I introduced you to this Boss pedal. I'm finding more and more uses for this every single day that I play my Aerophone. Remember I said in that other video, if you download the parameter guide, you can find out what the settings are to change things like whether the harmony switch is on or off or not. So in the demo that I did for Roland, I was just pushing the pedal down to make the harmony work. And when I released my foot, it was just the single note. It works really, really nicely. The other thing we can do, though, which is a great addition, what about if I don't want to play in C major? What about if my song actually modulates partway through to D major? Well, Roland have thought about this, and what you can do is you can either on the pedal here or using, say, one of your S1 or S2 keys, you can select the key really quickly. So on this example here, what I've done is I've got my S1 key to select the key that I'm playing in, and the S2 key is turning the harmony on or off. By the way, another nice little addition, which I'll just show you here. What we have now is these nice little indicators to tell us whether the S1 and S2 keys are actually engaged. Small things make a big difference. Okay, so back to setting the key. So we currently have this in C major, right? That's the harmony off. I can turn the harmony on. That's in C major. What if I want to switch to D major? Well, all I'm going to do is I could either press a button on my pedal, or I've set my S1 key to set the key of the scale. The way that works is I press the S1 key, and now if I play a note, I don't actually get a sound out of the Aerophone, but that has now set the key. I just pressed D. I just played a D. I'm going to press the S1 key another time, and now it's actually going to play in D scale. That works pretty well on S1 and S2 keys. It works really well on the pedal. So that intelligent harmony offers us huge possibilities. Again, you'll hear in the demos the sort of things you can do. I'm just scratching the surface there, but there's lots more of that we can use. Scale tuning was something that I've never really investigated very much. And when Roland asked me to do the demo for them, I was sort of scratching my head a bit. Why would I want to really use this, you know? Yes, I understood about just intonation and the beauty of the sound that we can get from that tuning system by just playing in one key, and the limitations that it brings with it, of course. But then I started looking at this fabulous Arabic scales that are around. Mind absolutely blown. What a lovely, fantastic, exotic sound it is, and it's such a rich history of sound that's involved there. I really suggest you go and have a look into it. Let me show you the options we've got here then now with scale tuning. Okay, so back on the iPad, and I've actually made this sound that I've called Arabic Wind. And it's got two elements to it. It's got a couple of duduk sounds in there, and I've used this moonrise for my drone sound, but I want to show you here. If I go to the duduk sound at the top here and press and hold, now you know this comes up with a new menu here, and we've got various options at the top, and I've already selected this scale tune. Now here you see we can decide exactly what scale we use. Again, there's an option to select a key center for our scale, and there are several built-in different scales here that we can choose from, or we can have our own custom scales. And the little bit of research I did, this is the scale I came up with the tuning for the demo that I did. And of course, each one of these, so where it says scale tune for 1, that means the first note. It's 12 chromatic notes, right, in a scale. And you've got 12 slots here where you can change the tuning. Now, of course, if you play any kind of woodwind instrument, we're used to those inaccuracies of tuning. You show me a saxophone that plays every note in tune, I'm yet to see one, okay? So actually, this is something that's quite important and could actually deliver a little bit more realism in some of our instrument sounds as well. But for something like these Arabic sounds, they have very precise tunings, and I'm not an expert on this by any means, but by the little bit of research I did, this is the sort of tunings that I came up with. Now, in the demos that I did for Roland, I was playing it's a little bit like the top of our harmonic minor scale. So I played a drone on D, And then I use the notes mostly of D, E flat, F sharp and G. And for those of you that have got good ears, you can hear those notes not quite being the same intonation that we're used to. There's some funny steps in there, aren't there? The other little application I think that's useful for, something like a saxophone, when we do what some people call those double densities or microtuned notes, we could now actually program those into our sounds as well. The other application for it would be something like the uilleann pipes, where we could actually use one of the notes to microtune it to give it that authentic vibrato that uilleann pipes use, which is not an embouchure vibrato, of course, it's a fingered vibrato. So lots of possibilities there, and the more I use it, the more I'm enjoying scale tuning. And finally, there are, I think, something like 25 or 30 new sounds in this update. There are some nice new synth sounds in there that you can obviously explore. They also take advantage of the new harmony features and scale tunings, some of them as well. And some of the ethnic and supernatural sounds have been improved a little bit. So I think there's some nice steps forward there. And of course, you can try those out for yourself and see what you're going to enjoy. So, all in all, it's, as usual, a fantastic update from Roland. It's like, your iPhone. You get this update, it's free, and it adds several new features which are really interesting and useful for musical expression. Of course, it's a free download. You get it from the Roland website. And it's a simple process. They've got the instructions there on how to update your Aerophone. So I know that was a pretty quick look at the interesting update for version 3. And all of those new features, of course, will take a little bit of getting used to. Now, if you need more help with that, in fact, if you need more help with your Aerophone Pro or AE20 in terms of the settings, the options, how do we do multiple sounds together? How do we transpose sounds? All of that stuff, which is pretty hard for people to work out, keep an eye on my iSax.Academy website. There'll be a link below. You can sign up to the mailing list. That is very soon going to have a brand new course with really well thought out videos and PDFs, step-by-step instructions how to do all of those great things that we can do on a Roland Aerophone, but nobody shows you how to do it. I'm going to show you how to do it in that course. Sign up to that mailing list. I reckon we're looking at probably Easter time when that's going to be coming out. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I really hope you enjoy the new version 3 update for the Roland Aerophone Pro. See you in the next one.